Thank you so much, members of the press. This is a statement by the press statement by the members of North Eastern Parliamentary Group. We, the leaders from Northern Kenya, wish to strongly and unequivocally condemn the recent inflammatory, reckless, and dangerous divisive remarks made by Governor George Natembeya of Trans Nzoia and Mr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka concerning President William Ruto's crucial proclamation on 5th February 2025, which rightfully rescinded and scrapped off the long-standing unjust and discriminatory vetting process long imposed on Kenyans from Northern Kenya. The decision to abolish this discriminatory and unconstitutional vetting practice was undeniably overdue, and yet profoundly necessary as a corrective measure that reaffirms and protects the constitutional rights of all Kenyans, most notably those from Northern Kenya region and other border communities. Article 12(1)(d) of the Constitution explicitly guarantees every citizen the right to Kenyan passport, as well as unfettered access to any registration or identification documents, while Article 27(4) decisively prohibits discrimination on any grounds, including ethnicity, religion, or social origin. These constitutional safeguards are non-negotiable and should never be subjected to distortions of discriminatory procedures. Furthermore, it's crucial to underscore that the President's proclamation was not solely a measure intended for Northern Kenya, but rather a far-reaching reform that offers far-needed relief to over 14 border counties across the nation. This includes, unfortunately or fortunately, Governor Natembeya's Trans Nzoia County, which shares a significant border with Uganda, and you all know it. You know the population, you know how it is. One must question Governor Natembeya's apparent refusal to associate himself with the President's proclamation with the border benefits it brings to his own Trans Nzoia County, which shares a vital border with Uganda. Why then has Governor Natembeya chosen to direct his rage towards this positive impact this reform could have on his constituents, but instead unleash a barrage of personal attacks against the pastoralist communities? You can only speculate. Why will he do it? Is it because he is a product of the dreaded provisional administration, or because he has other motives? Why not even support issues that benefit his own county? That's a question that I think every rightful thinking Kenyan should ask himself or herself. It must go on record that this fair and progressive process, as outlined by the President, offers far-reaching relief to numerous border counties, including his own. It promotes fairness and equity for all Kenyans, especially those in border regions who have historically had challenges of restricted movement and economic marginalization. It is perplexing that the governor, instead of celebrating this unifying step towards greater national cohesion and unity, has instead sought to sow seeds of division, foiling unwarranted hostility towards communities that stand to benefit from these reforms that should in fact be the cause for collective support, solidarity, and celebration. You're all aware. You look at across Kenya here, how many communities live along the borders? Not only the Somalis. We have Tavetas along the Kenya-Tanzania border. We have the Luos in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Southern Sudan. We have the Turkanas in Southern Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya. You have the Ormos in Kenya and Ethiopia, and many other communities. Why should it be an issue? And two, have we not all participated and voted for the current Constitution in 2010? Why will we oppose the operationalization of clear provision, clear articles, like Article 27, when it's being done right now? It ought to have been done actually by President Kibaki immediately after August 2010 Constitution. So the President's bold action serves not only to rectify historical injustices in Northern Kenya, but also foster national cohesion and support the livelihood of communities across the entire country. For far too long, the border counties, specifically the border counties of Northern Kenya, have extremely suffered under suffocation of cloud of unfair, discriminatory vetting which subjected the citizens to unwarranted and humiliating scrutiny, rendering them effectively stateless within their own country. You're also aware that there are particular laws, like the Indemnity Act of 1967. It was enacted purposely to indemnify the soldiers who are serving in northern Kenya. Has it ever happened to any other community? It has never happened. You're also aware that we have had the District Contagious Act. We have had the screening procedures. All these processes were tailor-made for the people of Kenya. Under this era, during this time, when everybody is living under this progressive constitution, those who are wishing for the people of northern Kenya to still be subject to those discriminatory laws are unfair, unreasonable, and I think are living in their own world and must accept the reality that Kenya belongs to all the 47 tribes and no community should be excluded. The President's courageous decision to rectify this grievous injustice stands squarely in line with the provisions of Article 19.2, which underscores that ultimate purpose of recognizing and safeguarding human rights is to preserve the inherent dignity of individuals and promote essential ideals of social justice, which is a critical component of any society. The inflammatory and deeply harmful statements made on 8 February are not only reckless, but also profoundly dangerous. Because national cohesion is very important. We are all aware. We all come from regions. We all have tribes. We all have our ethnic identities. But what brings us together is this flag under this sovereign republic called Kenya. And this must not be negated at any time, because that's what holds us together. That is the fabric. That is the fabric that holds the Kenyan society together, notwithstanding their diverse differences, regions where they come from, and ethnic identification. This must be safeguarded. And those who are carelessly being promoting this must be aware that there are countries that have suffered in the past because of reckless statements by leaders who don't think out of the box. This must not be allowed in the modern day Kenya. So the attempt to vilify and unjustly profile an entire community as terrorists is an indefensible and outrageous accusation, especially coming from a person in the position of elected leadership. Such utterances are not only irresponsible, but perilous, as they inflame divisions and deepen historical grievances of marginalized communities in Kenya. You're all aware in the past, these communities, even criminal elements, though it's an individual issue, these communities, bandits, you have had Somali bandits. Have you ever heard of a Luo bandit? A Kikuyu bandit? So, these tags, we must shed off this. We all want to proudly live in a modern day in Kenya where everybody gets his fair share of respect first and constitutional guarantees. This must not be negated. Citizenship and the right to identification enshrined under Article 12(1)(b) of the Constitution are not privileges subject to arbitrary or discriminatory scrutiny. They are inalienable constitutional rights that must never be violated by suppressive and punitive vetting process. You're all aware, the Citizenship Act actually was first enacted in 1948 by the British government for the African communities. Later on, it was again amended in 1963, which again was meant to serve the entire citizen of the newly independent Kenya. But again, since then, so many other things have changed. And these are things that right now that are being changed. And I hope and pray that every rightful thinking Kenya should accept to progressively do away with laws that are tailor-made to discriminate certain sections of our society. Equally regrettable are groundless and irresponsible allegations made by the Honorable Kalonzo, who has insinuated that this landmark reform is a political maneuver and plot designed to influence the outcome of 2027 elections. Such baseless assertions serve no purpose other than to politicize a matter that is fundamentally about the protection of human rights and the defense of the constitutional justice of these people who have been hitherto marginalized. Again, such a reckless statement coming from Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, an erstwhile national leader. It's unfortunate. It's unacceptable. You are looking for votes, and you want to demean the very people who are supposed to vote you. No wonder he has been trying every election as an underdog. Okay? I do not want to deliver. So we want the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, personally, is a friend of mine, to profusely use the earliest opportunity possible to apologize to the people of Northern Kenya, to the people of Kenya in general. That statement was unexpected, unwarranted, and unacceptable, especially coming from a leader whom we have considered as a national leader. By reducing this critical issue to political rhetoric, the former vice president is willfully ignoring the systemic marginalization and discrimination that the people of Northern Kenya have endured for decades. The right to identification is not a matter of mere political convenience, as misleadingly portrayed, but an essential human right and an essential necessity that allows every Kenyan to access vital services from education, employment, economic opportunities, and even protection from such irresponsible utterances. I remember one time when he was the Minister for Education, we had to sleep Sekuru the wee hours of the night, simply because we could not travel. I just want to remind him, that is the Northern Kenya. That is the Northern Kenya. These are things that must be done away with right now. So I want to remind him, you should remember that night and what we did at the wee hours of the night, even for our own survival as leaders, equally also in the process of providing service to the people of Mandera. It's our collective and resolute appeal to all Kenyans to renounce such reckless and incendiary rhetorics which only exacerbates national divisions and threaten to undermine the unity we have so adversely forged. The President's decision marks a historic and transformative stride towards restoring the dignity of the countless Kenyans across the country and the most affected region of Northern Kenya, who have so far too long been unjustly relegated to the status of second-class citizens by systemic and oppressive bureaucratic injustices. The people of Northern Kenya region are not strangers to Kenya. They are fully entitled citizens with unquestionable right to enjoy a complete spectrum of rights and protections granted under our Constitution. As a nation, we categorically reject all forms of profiling, discrimination, as we demand for the application of principles of equality, justice, and inclusion for all Kenyans, regardless of their ethnic background, regardless of their color, regardless of their creed, regardless of their region, regardless of their political affiliation, and we demand that every Kenyan must be accorded the rights enshrined in the current Constitution. And finally, we have no apologies as leaders. We have no apologies in supporting the government of His Excellency President William Ruto. We'll continue to appreciate the services offered by the government. We'll continue to support the actions, the activities, the development agenda of the President, and therefore, please accord us respect, accord us a bit of, there be a bit of tolerance and acceptability, and that is what will hold the Kenyan society together. Thank you so much. May I ask our patron, Honorable Farah, also to add, and then any other member?
I think you have it in full. Yeah, put them here. You a lot has happened in our country for the longest. For the longest. I grew up here when somebody from Northeastern province is applying for a passport. It would be subjected to such a difficult process that people who served in the colonial civil service, in the King's African Rifles, and many other institutions in the country, in the police force, had problems getting those passports simply because of discrimination. that this discrimination is akin to the apartheid of South Africa. Because we are not coming from outside Kenya. Nobody's telling me Garissa is a county for Kikuyus or Luos or Luyas or Kalenjins or any other community. Or he's saying Wajir is a county for other communities, not Somalis, or Mandera, or Isiolo for that matter, or Marsabit. Everybody accepts that these counties are our own indigenous, traditional, historical land that we owned for thousands of years. But again, somebody again thinks that you should not, you're not as Kenyan as anybody else. It's precisely because of the fear of that kind of a discrimination.
The Bukusus are also marginalized.
Come here.
The Bukusus are also about the community.
Now we are telling them, we're telling, look, my friend Kalonzo Musyoka, he himself is the one who told me the original name of Mwingi, where he comes from, was Kwafara. That town was started by a Somali trader called Farah, not less than 78 years before the British landed in our country here. All the major urban centers of Kenya were started by Somalis. And ask the community, ask your elders, ask your grandfathers if they're around. Whether it is Kericho, or it is what they call Marigat, or it is Bungoma, Olukezia, or it is Naivasha, or it is Maragua, Nyeri. We used to call in our culture Mega. Mega is Muiga. Long before the colonialists came, our people would bring animals to Muiga and go back with grains. Now, just because there's a community called Somali who have got a nation on the other side, and these boundaries were determined by the colonialists for their own benefit, and hived a portion of the Somali nation as part of this Kenya, which they were, by the way, for the longest, even before the colonialists came. They were never called Kenya, but we still traded together and lived together as Africans the way we were those days. The Kikuyu nation, the Somali nation, the Meri nation, the Kalenjin nation, all those nations were there. At the time of independence, to distract the attention of Kenyans from the injustices of the land distribution that was happening in here, the people who were in power at that time, who came to power, felt it very important to project to Somalis the first government. Now, anybody who has an issue will say, now we're telling them, we are just as much part of the Kenyan society and nation as everybody else is. And we have as much rights. And the same way that the Kikuyu nation cannot be threatened, or the Kalenjin nation cannot be threatened, or the Luo nation cannot be threatened, nobody is going to threaten us. I'll tell you that for sure. You can have it for free. If anybody wants to destroy Kenya, good luck. Bring it on. We will see where you go with it. You get my point? Because for the longest, this discrimination has persisted to the extent whereby somebody thinks that we are subhuman. It's a political process. Warrior was Somali. Who started Nairobi as a center, by the way? Who were the first traders who established Nairobi as a business center before even the railways came in? Go back to the history. Go and read Out of Africa. And what was the lady called? Karen Blixen and all those people. We were here. We were here in Kenya when some other Kenyans were in other parts of the country migrating from back and forth, other parts of the continent. So the position we are telling right now is that, look, for God's sake, let's protect our country together. Let's not try and victimize any section of our community. For the longest, I have been myself a witness to a situation in which when a Luo comes with a bachelor's degree from Eastern Europe, he will be relegated to a diploma. When he comes with a master's, he will be given a bachelor's. If he comes with a PhD, he's told, no, you can only have a master's. Or people who graduated from other, because of that discrimination. The nation has seen a lot of discrimination of different sections of the society. Look at the development country we have had in this country for the longest. And look at the discrimination in the provision of infrastructure in the country. For God's sake. Let us Let the bygones be bygones, but let us focus on a nation that is ours, that we can choose who to support. I did not support William Ruto in the last elections. Raila Odinga had 23,000 votes in my constituency. William Ruto had 508 votes in my constituency. Less than 1,000 votes in my constituency. I have a choice. If I want to support him in the 2027, I use the same independence and the same right that I used last time to choose whoever I want. I've been in the opposition myself for the longest. I was not in Kanu. I was in Fort Kenya with Jaramogi. Let us protect our country and respect every section of the society of this country without making any other allusions. The Luos in Uganda, I've seen Luos myself in Sudan. They are couriers on both sides. They are Maasais on both sides. They are Digos on both sides. Actually, as a matter of fact, there are more Digos in Tanzania than there are in Kenya. And there are more, what do you call, the Bukusus are here. The majority of them are in Uganda. The Tesos. The Tesos have got the second biggest tribe in Uganda. What we are saying is that these border regions, this unfair vetting discrimination in which intelligence will take 6 months or even a year or 10 years to vet people, should stop, so that we all Kenyans have a right. And this does not only apply to us, by the way, it's going to apply to all the border regions, because all the border regions are affected. There are Kalenjins in Tanzania, in Uganda. The Kalenjins, the runners in Uganda, you will see the chariots and all those, the Sebei. Why pick on the Somalis? Why would somebody be so what you call reckless as to say they're trying? By the way, we're a clannish people. The Somalis of Somalia are there in their own country. The ones of Ethiopia are in their own country. You get my point? It's only Kenyans that you have here. We have refugees who get settled in America and Europe and the rest of it the same way. South Sudanese refugees are here. Ethiopian refugees are here. Ugandan refugees were here. John Garang was a refugee in Kenya from South Sudan way back. Even Kagame was a refugee. Museveni was hiding in this place when he was fighting in the RMA. I mean, basically, we'll find time to come in here. Those Somalis who are refugees either settled in Europe or America or wherever it is, and the rest of them are still refugees. They live in camps. So when you target us, one, by trying to have what you call digital genocide by our old president, Uhuru Kenyatta, when a constituency with almost 200,000 votes, he says reduce it to only 50, and the courts have found what he has done. That was bad, and in bad taste. If it happened to us before and Wagala was done to us, massacre of Wagala was done to us. 5,000 Kenyans were killed and massacred in there. Because somebody felt they were not as much Kenyan as the rest of the Kenyans. Or as human as the rest of Kenyans. And Wajir, and Malkamari, and Bulakartas in Garissa, and all the things that were done to us, including shooting into a mosque in Isiolo. And Jomo Kenyatta's, what do you call government? This time around, Tumerevuka, pick on us.
We are awake.
Let's see what you get out of it. You get my point? We're not begging anybody. This is our rights. The same way you cannot threaten a Kikuyu or a Kalenjin or a Luo or a Luya, don't try to threaten a Somali. By the way, we don't take kindly to that. And right now, we are somebody like me, I'm an objective person. I have had a checkered career, political career of always being objective. I was never in the ruling government. I was not with Uhuru. I was not with Kibaki when he became a president. That old man literally wanted me to be in his government and even to be in the cabinet. But I said no. I had my own political association and my friends, because Kenya is for all of us. I'm one of the founder members of what is called COTEPA. COTEPA is the Coffee and Tea Parliamentary Association, which was created in 1993 with the late, what do you call it, with Kiraitu Murungi, with Paul Mwite, with a number of our good old friends. I was fighting for the rights of the coffee farmers in the mountain region and other parts of the country, and the tea farmers in Rift Valley. I was not fighting only for Somalis. So the point I'm trying to tell you is that, look, we are patriotic. We respect our country. We respect our countrymen. This is a message to our countrymen. All Kenyans will want to live peacefully together. shun the political thugs and crooks who feel that for them to achieve a certain political mileage, they can divide this country anytime. They created all post-election violences. All post-election violences were created by selfish politicians. We don't want that to happen again. Ask me why I support Ruto's government right now. I'll give you a raft of all the good things that they have done. You might have a different opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. You get my point? It's not that your opinion has got to be manifest destiny. It's like your opinion must be the opinion of the nation. No, that doesn't work, and it will never work. So the point I'm trying to tell you all is that, look, let us protect our country. What is being done to us right now, indeed, yes, is an injustice. People should be hailing this. The same way apartheid was dismantled, to say, thank God, the media particularly, apartheid in our own country is being dismantled now. There's no discrimination. The people of northern Kenya are having rights just like the rest of the country. Thank you very much.
I will be very brief. All we are asking for is to be governed just like every other Kenyan community and every other region in this country. We are asking to be governed according to the laws governing the people of Kenya and not have unconstitutional practices like the vetting for ID cards imposed upon us. What the president has done is remove an unconstitutional practice that has been at play in northeastern Kenya and everywhere in Kenya whenever a Somali is applying for ID card. And the vetting process is one of the most undignified things that has been done to the people who are from northeastern. What Governor Natembeya and former Vice President Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka did is to try and reinstate an unconstitutional practice. Their statements were bigoted, they were prejudiced, and they were racist. And we take exception to their statements calling for the reinstatement of vetting of Kenyan Somalis. We have always been the first line of defense in protecting Kenya. If we were not the first line of defense, then this country would not be as stable as it is. We have done that because we are patriotic Kenyans and we understand the responsibilities that are upon us in being law-abiding citizens of this country, but also being wide-eyed and alert to ensure that this country does not get anyone coming in to cause mischief and havoc. We take exception to the statements from those leaders, and we would want to urge them to apologize to the Kenyan Somali population and the country at large. Thank you very much.
Give it up.
Thank you.